So I finally played Elden Ring NightReign. This is what the game is like in a nutshell. Yeah, this game is fucking rough, but it's also pretty fun. Let's get into it. So, Elden Ring NightReign. I was definitely worried about this game at first, and I still am, but I can see the positives and negatives with this game. So, before I get to all the positives and the negatives, let's get on to what the game is supposed to be like. So, what is Elden Ring NightReign? So, Elden Ring NightReign is a Souls-like game, but with a twist. There are roguelike mechanics thrown on top of there, and there's a bit of battle royal mechanics sprinkled on top as well with the circle mechanic. So, you gotta get to the circle within a certain amount of time, and as you do that, you have to traverse the land and beat up enemies, and you gotta level up as best as you can and as quick as you can, while also obtaining gear from certain enemies you defeated. And once the end of the day comes, the circle closes into a very small area where you and a group of friends, or by yourself, are forced to fight the boss at the end of that day. And there may be some returning enemies from previous Souls-like games, like Dark Souls 2 with the Centipede Demon, and we got the annoying abomination Revenant from Elden Ring that makes a return. And if you manage to survive the first 2 days, you will be given an opportunity to fight the Night Lords on day 3, which is supposed to be the end of your current run, depending on which Night Lord you are going after. And if you defeat the Night Lords, you win the current run you're on. But if you die, well, it's game over. It's that simple. So with Elden Ring NightReign, the way this game is meant to be played is in co-op, and each player can choose their own different character classes, and you're supposed to build your class based on these character classes' recommendations, varying from bow and arrows to great swords to halberds and different other weapon classes. And there's a total of 8 characters to choose from in the game. Okay, so now that I got all that out of the way, let's get to the actual review itself. And let's get to the negatives, okay? Because there are quite some negatives to this game that I do need to talk about before moving on to the positives. So, the first biggest negative I have with this game is the online play. Considering that this is somewhat supposed to be, I guess, a social game from what I've heard, it's not really that social, considering the fact that there is no crossplay and there is no in-game voice chat or in-game messaging for that matter, so you can't really communicate that well with your team or your friends unless you're all in like some kind of Discord call, but there's no in-game voice chat or crossplay to play with other people, which is a big stain on this game. Now, of course, you have a ping system just to let people know, oh hey, let's go here. But that's about it. You just have a crappy ping system. That is a massive boo-boo for this game. The only way you can communicate with random people in this game is through the ping system. That's it. There's no crossplay, so you can't play with friends on Xbox or PlayStation or PC. There is no in-game voice chat, so you can't communicate with your team to tell them, hey teammate, you're being a fucking idiot. Stop straying from the group and stick with us, stupid. Or there's no in-game messages, so you can tell them, hey, get over here, we found something. Talk about a missed opportunity with the online social features. And I know someone's gonna tell me, but NightReign, this is a social game, bro. Okay, where's the social features at? I just told you. Where is crossplay? Where's in-game voice chat? Where's in-game messages? This is supposed to be a social game, right? So where's all these features? As if that's gonna matter at this point, considering half the time when I play with a friend of mine and we play with one random, half of the time the random kiddos just literally run off on their own, doing their own shit, and they usually get down half the time, and me and my friend are just like, alright, well, just forget him. If he survives, he survives. If he dies, then that's on him, and he can just rage quit or whatever.
Not to alarm you, but our random teammate is off doing his own thing again. Social game, huh, From Software? As I was saying before I was oh, yep, the rage quit. Our rando rage quit. Oh my god, the skill issues with these random people are so bad. And I thought I was bad at Souls games.
Yeah, that's right. Half the time in this game, you get paired up with brain-dead Souls-like players that don't know what they're doing, and then they'll just rage quit because they have a skill issue, or they just run into the storm like zombies because they want their runes, and then they'll die trying to get those runes, and then they'll just rage quit right then and there. Yeah, you get paired up with those kind of people in this kind of game. And if you somehow, by sheer luck, if the stars align for you and you get that perfect random teammate, guess what? The fucking servers are so bad in this game, you'll end up playing the game on your own because the server will just kick your team out and they'll leave you alone in the dust.
No, he disconnected. I think his plug was pulled. Oh. No. Are you fucking kidding me? Dude, what is up with the fucking connection with this game? Like, the servers are ass cheeks. No, I'm like dead serious. Like, the servers are so damn ass cheeks with FromSoft games. I don't know what it is, but god damn. Okay, so apparently my friend has been trying to reconnect for 5 minutes now, and the servers keep telling him he can't connect, even though he's available and he's playing the game. But apparently the servers are so dogshit he can't rejoin. God damn these fucking servers, dude. They're so bad.
Another negative I have to point out is that sometimes the enemy AI is so bad, it will get to the point where the AI will bug out to the point where they'll act so brain dead, they will just stand around and do nothing.
and I got cooked. And this guy's just literally standing there above my dead body, like, yeah, I just flexed on you. Yeah, what the hell? That's the second time I've seen that happen. What the hell?
Now, the last pile of shit that I have to point out, because this is a Souls-like game with rogue-like elements to make this game challenging, the rogue-like system in this game is shit! It is the worst I've ever seen it! Like, look at this. Improve poise near the Totem of Stella? Like, what the fuck is that? Am I supposed to know what that is? Or health restoration upon Reaper attacks? That's not as exciting. Or what about +1 strength, +3 arcane? That is shit compared to the other relics. Or what about this? Improve beastal incantations, improve death blight resistance, or improve perfuming arts. Who the fuck uses perfumes? Not a single person I have ever played against or with has ever used perfume in this game. Or what about the weapon drops with buffs active, like reduced spell casting, or you get improved magic attack power with this weapon, or you get all these buffs like poison and rot resistance with this medallion, or you get the Rivers of Blood katana with improved attack power at low health. That's not exciting. It doesn't make me excited to get these weapons at all with these passive buffs. Like, each weapon or item you pick up in the game is supposed to have a game-changing buff or add-on that makes you stronger, but the roguelike reward system is shitty. It is the worst I have ever seen it at. Have you seen games like Risk of Rain 2 with the roguelike elements in that game and how busted your builds can be? Yeah, Risk of Rain 2, when it comes to the roguelike elements with the buffs that you get in that game, like increased bleeding, lifesteal, rate of fire, increased damage to bosses, and you can stack them multiple times to get very specific builds you want, and you can create the build as you go on throughout the game, and you can have like an insane attack speed build while dealing insane damage to bosses, and your builds actually feel like you're getting stronger in that game. But in Elden Ring NightReign, it's barely even noticeable. Sure, you can get a build in this game as well, but it's just not as satisfying compared to games like Risk of Rain 2, or even other roguelike games like Cult of the Lamb, for example. Now look, is Elden Ring NightReign really this bad of a game? No, of course not. I'm not just gonna sit here and just lie to you folks, because there is some genuine positives with Elden Ring NightReign, and there are some genuine great moments you can have in this game. For example, like some of the character classes you choose, and some of the unique abilities you can have with people like Wilder, Guardian, or even people like Executor, using their abilities are so dang satisfying to use, and they're so fun to use.
Just slide it on in. Uh-oh. I'm coming. What a save! What a save! Oh, Birdman for the rescue! I staggered him with the parry! Let's go! You going to fucking wow.
Another positive I do have is on some runs, sometimes there will be a change in the map to the environment where certain maps of the run in Limvale get affected. For example, in one corner of the map, you could be in the forefront of witnessing a volcano erupting in front of you, and you could be like, what's going on here? And sometimes you can be in like this scarlet rot forest where you gotta find a cure to stop scarlet rot for the rest of the run. And then you could also be on the mountaintops in the freezing snowy mountains fighting enemies alongside your comrades. Now, well, that stuff sounds pretty cool, but after like a few runs, I started to realize that it's basically the exact same map, but some corners of the map are just different compared to the rest of the map. The rest of the map is the same. You're just playing on the exact same map with just modifiers. That's what it comes down to. Now, of course, this may sound like a negative, and this technically is a negative, but also a positive. Like, it's cool how we have different areas, like different modifiers, depending on what run you go on, but it can get kind of stale and boring after like a few runs. But the next positive, and this is an actual good positive, is if you don't want to play with random people, depending on your internet connection, or if you just really don't want random people to screw up your run, you can run this game solo, and you can just fight the Night Lords on your own, depending on which ones you go for, but it can be pretty tough depending on which one you go for. But it also can be pretty dang satisfying taking them down by yourself. Now, of course, if you're one of those Giga Chad people that like to have a real challenge and you really want to push yourself to the limit here, then maybe you might find a bit of a challenge and maybe you might find some enjoyment here in solo going up against these Night Lords. Because most of these Night Lords, they do require you to have a big team, otherwise, you're going to get your butt handed to you. Which leads me up to my next point, the seamless co op. This is something that everyone has been begging for in a Souls-like game for years, based off what I'm aware of, or at least from what I'm aware of. Everyone has been wanting something like this in a Souls-like game. Especially because not only do you get to explore with your buddies, but they can also be very useful to you in battle too, especially just jumping one enemy and wailing on them into next week. That's pretty funny. Or even just taking the time to give your teammates different items before big boss battles, prepping yourselves, getting ready for the big fight ahead. And depending on what character class you choose, you could either have a rough time or a really easy time. Like, you could have one person play as Executor, where they can just parry the enemy attacks, have another person play Raider, where they deal crazy damage with colossal weapons, or have another person play as Iron Eye, where they can provide covering fire from a distance. As long as you and your team know what you're doing and you have the right builds to handle certain Night Lords in this game, you will absolutely walk over the Night Lords like they're a red carpet. However, I do have to point this out, and this is just me nitpicking for the laughs. How in the world am I supposed to beat up an Erdtree avatar when I have a circle mechanic to worry about? How am I supposed to beat the living dookie snots out of the Erdtree avatar if I have to run to safety? It's your lucky day, Erdtree avatar. You're lucky that there's a circle mechanic in this game, otherwise I would have totally whooped your ass. No, but with all seriousness, the fact that you can play solo in this game, it is pretty nice considering that, like I said, if you have horrible internet connection for whatever reason, or if you can't play with random people or with a group of friends because of whatever reasons, then you can play this game solo, even though it may be far harder to do, but it will be so much more satisfying to beat those Night Lords. It definitely feels like you win the goddamn Super Bowl whenever you knock out a Night Lord, which is definitely satisfying. Especially, one more thing I need to mention before I get to the final score. This game was not directed by Miyazaki. It was led by a different person in the studio. I believe Junya Ishizaki. I apologize if I pronounced the name wrong, but it's pretty cool how Miyazaki let some of his other developers in the studio work on a different side project for fun, which is pretty cool because now it allows for more creativity and we can get more of these kind of ideas out there, and we can also let everyone know, okay, this is what we're going to do in this game. Should we implement these kind of mechanics into the next Souls like game or whatever? Now, of course, blemishes and all, there are some good things with this game, but there are also some pretty bad things in this game that does need to be addressed, like the online servers and the fact that there is no duos. But other than that, I gotta say, this is a pretty solid game for what it's worth, but it could be much better. The final score for Elden Ring NightReign, at its best ever, like the best it could ever be, is a 7 out of 10. But honestly, it's worse than that, considering the fact that online connection, depending on who you play with and trying to just play a normal game can be frustrating. And if you get an online match, half of the random players you play with are going to be dog water, or they'll end up being so good you'll have a certain run where the game will just crash on you. The servers for this game are just poo poo. It's a 6 out of 10. But honestly, the game's even worse than that. Considering that this is supposed to be a social game where you need to communicate with your team in this game, the lack of crossplay, the lack of voice chat, and the lack of in game messages, so you can't really communicate well with your team, and you have a crappy ping system just to communicate? Pinging on the map or in the game is not really well communication. I would rather use in-game voice chat. Say what you will about Call of Duty, but at least that game has voice chat and you can communicate with your team. The fact that there is a lack of communication features in this game brings this game down even more to a 5 out of 10. And I could honestly even give it a 4 out of 10. But the reason why it remains a 5 out of 10 is because there is still some enjoyment to be had with this game. There is a creative direction here with Elden Ring NightReign. Having unique character abilities, being able to play with your buddies in seamless co-op and just completely destroy a run with a perfect build that you and your team put together for a certain character class, it can be satisfying. But however, as this game stands right now, it stands as a mediocre tech demo for seamless co op, where there is still some enjoyment to be had here. If you're one of those Giga Chad Souls like people that want to fight everything butt ass naked with a ham sandwich and you want to really challenge yourself, then maybe you might find some enjoyment here. But if you're just a normal person like myself looking for a really fun game to play and you really want to try to play something just for fun without too much worries going on, you might want to end up passing on this one. This may be a $40 game, but compare this to the original Elden Ring in 2022. The original Elden Ring is far better than NightReign. This game may have seamless co-op, but the original Elden Ring has way more content than Elden Ring NightReign does. This is a game that just comes down to personal preference. like I've said, if you're someone looking for a challenge, then maybe you might find some enjoyment here. But if you're just one of those regular casuals looking for a game to turn your brain off and have fun, you might want to end up passing on this one and just go back to the original Elden Ring. Not trying to say that this is a bad game at all, of course not. A 5 out of 10 isn't a horrible score. It's an alright score. It's okay, but however, I will say this game does have some moments where it is fun, but this game will also really test your patience if you don't know what you're doing. So, with this being said, thank you everyone for watching and for listening, and until next time, I will see you all later.